Hey everybody, it's great to see you. Thanks a lot for joining in. We have got a great recipe for you today. It's summertime. Your garden is plentiful, I'm sure. Those of you who have grown a garden this year. And what have you got so much of right now? Squash and zucchini. Yeah, summer squash and zucchini. So we all know that after a while, you get a little bored from eating summer squash and zucchini every night for dinner. And you're thinking, oh my goodness, what are we gonna do with the rest of the squash and zucchini? Well, there's a million different recipes out there. This one here is one of my favorite all-time recipes to make with summer squash. And it is a simple, sweet custard pie. And you wouldn't think that you would use summer squash for this custard pie, but it is amazing. It is so good, and you'll never know that there's squash in it. You're gonna fool everybody, especially the little kids that you've been trying to eat or have them eat the summer squash all summer. And put it in this pie. It's gonna be great. So let's get started. I've gone ahead and I've sliced a few summer squash that I had here. The trick is to make sure that all the seeds are out of the summer squash. So first off, I start by just taking a bigger summer squash. Now these are some of the ones that maybe you forgot in the garden or someone gave you and they're massive and you're like, what are we gonna do with these? They don't taste quite as good when you steam them and cook them because the flavor kind of leaves the squash, and sometimes they're a little mushy because they're not young. They're, older squash because they've been forgotten in the garden or they've been hidden under a leaf, and you pick up the leaf and, oh my word, you have a gigantic one, right? So this is a fairly good sized one. I had a couple of other ones. You're gonna need to yield about 2.5 to 3 cups of pulp in the end. So I would recommend probably 4 or 5 good sized squash. So if you don't have 4 or 5 big ones on hand, but you have a bunch of little ones, then definitely use that. So you want to probably double that. Okay, so like I said, this one is a good one, good sized one. And so I'm going to be able to get quite a bit of pulp out of this. So first off, just a vegetable peeler is all you need. And you're just going to go ahead and you're going to just peel this squash. I make sure that you have a good vegetable peeler on hand. I have 2 or 3 of them because, after a while, well, certain ones work good on certain things. Like, when you get into the fall and get into the more hardier squashes with the thicker rinds, those definitely take a really sharp peeler. So, and then some things like carrots and squash, summer squash, peel pretty easily. So depending on how fresh the squash is too, is how hard the outside rind is. So the easier it is to peel. So fresh is good, guys. Definitely grab you can go to the farm stand right now and grab summer squash for next to nothing just because they're like flooding in it right now. All right, so this is such a great recipe too because it has, it almost reminds me of like bread pudding. Kind of like my grandmother used to make bread pudding lots of times for like Thanksgiving and everything when we used to all get together as a family. We used to get together, my cousins, well, my father, this is my father's mother, okay, or my father's side of the family. There was 6 of them in that family, okay, there were 6 kids. And so all of those kids, have kids, this, that, and the other. My parents had 6 kids. So 6 was the magic number there for a little bit. But anyway, long story short, our living room at our house was kind of the biggest one, so to speak. And so, or the most open, I should say. Not so much the biggest, but it was kind of an open concept. So we were able to fit a lot of people in our living room. And we would have anywhere from 40 to 50 plus people on Thanksgiving. Crazy, huh? So it was so much fun though. I remember growing up, I couldn't wait for Thanksgiving because all my cousins would come over and we would have so much fun. So anyway, my grandmother used to make bread pudding all the time to come and bring for Thanksgiving, along with jelly rolls and a million other things, right? Because she was just an amazing cook. So, but this squash pie really reminds me of that kind of flavorful. You'll be able to taste the eggs and the vanilla, and oh, it's gonna be heaven. You're gonna wanna make this. So if you don't have any summer squash, go out and grab some, okay? So I've gone ahead and peeled it, and I've cut them lengthwise, okay? So you can see the seeds right here. Now I just have a melon baller right here, and that's what I'm gonna use to scoop out these seeds. Now you can use a spoon, like a little spoon if you want to. I find if you have a melon baller, use it. It just works so much easier for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and just scoop out these seeds. And I just kind of ball out the first row, going down through, just to create the little hollow piece. And then all you do is just scrape it down. Kind of tilt my hand so you can kind of see this a little bit here. And I just kind of scrape out all the seeds and then just scoop them out at the end. Now you want to make sure you're going to try to get out all those seeds. So kind of like carving a pumpkin. I'm really crazy about carving pumpkins, guys. Love to carve pumpkins. So we're coming into that time of year. But it takes me forever because I have to have the inside completely smooth. And I know that my friends out there that are watching me right now are not surprised because they understand my obsessiveness with making sure everything is just right. I don't know why, I just have to. I can't have an unclean pumpkin, or I have to go back and redo things a million times. I don't know why. It's part of me. It's part of me, it's okay. People love me anyway, hopefully. All right, so as we're gonna scoop this, I have on my stove, I have some water boiling. So I've gone ahead and I've gotten a good sized stock pot ready, and I put some water in it, and it's just been simmering on the back burner and getting ready to boil, because what we're gonna do is after I cut these all down into like cubes, we're gonna boil this, okay? So we're gonna, just like you were gonna have mashed potato or you were gonna mash this squash to eat. I'm not really a fan of mashed summer squash. I love butternut squash and buttercup squash and those hardier squashes, but summer squash I like to slice and steam. I don't know why I don't really like it mashed up. I don't know, it just has a different consistency to me. It's stringier, okay? So, I'll clean, see? All right, so now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna get these peelings out of the way, and just so that you can see the rest of what we're gonna be doing here with the squash before we boil it. Now, I haven't added anything to the water. It's for the stock pot, it's just regular water. You don't need to salt it or anything like that, okay? Because you're not gonna process these squashes for canning or anything like that. What we're gonna be doing is we're just gonna cook them down. You know, very similar to, like I said, mashed potato or regular, you know, the hardier squashes that you would mash and eat at like Thanksgiving time or something like that. Okay, so all I'm gonna do here is the bigger pieces, I'm gonna kind of cut in length again, okay? And then I'm just gonna cut them in chunks, just because it's gonna be quicker for them to cook down and it's gonna be easier to mash later. Now, you can use a potato masher if you want, or you can use a food processor, whatever one that you would like to use. I don't know what you normally use for your mashed potato, but whatever you use for your mashed potato, use for your squash, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and finish cutting these up, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna put these all into the boiling water, and these, like I said, are gonna cook down until, and it depends on how many squash you have, how thick you cut them, how much rind you actually ended up having on each squash is going to depend on. Now you can see these, they're pretty thin, because after you get the seeds out of them and you peel them, they're not too thick. That's why the bigger squashes are great, because they tend to have a lot of meat on the ends of those squashes that are bigger, so you can kind of get more bang for your buck, all right, so to speak. So what I'm gonna do is these are gonna go into that pot of boiling water, and then we're gonna cook these down until they're nice and soft and ready to be mashed. Now, don't be afraid to cook these for as long as you can, because the better cooked they are, the easier they are to mash, just like potato, okay? So these are gonna go into the pot of boiling water. It's ready to roll, and then when we come back, I'm gonna show you how to mash them up, and we're gonna put together the pie. Now, if you want, don't forget, if you wanna know how to make homemade pie crust, go back into one of my episodes, and I have a recipe there of how to make homemade pie crust. If you just wanna buy a pie crust, then that's fine, but I recommend trying to make your own. So go ahead and flip back to that episode, subscribe to the YouTube channel so you get all of the videos, and we'll be right back in just a few minutes.